doctor, give me the news.
So every day our bodies send us signals telling us things like it's time to eat or it's time to sleep. But sometimes symptoms that seem harmless, they can actually be a sign of something more serious. And your doctor just may refer you to a specialist. And joining us right now are three different specialists: cardiologist Dr. John Kennedy, dermatologist Dr. Sandra Lee, and ophthalmologist Dr. Brian Boxer Wachler. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So here's the reality. You have a primary care doctor for a reason. They can help you figure out what specialist to see. But what we're going to do right now is we're going to go through three common everyday symptoms. They seem like no big deal, but every now and then they could be a signal that you do need to go see a specialist, and it would be one that you would never expect. Our first symptom, hiccups. We all hiccup, right? Every now and then, an annoying symptom usually just lasts for a few minutes. Now, what happens when you have hiccup? It's an involuntary contraction of your diaphragm. Your diaphragm is the muscle that helps you breathe. But when it involuntarily contracts, you bring in air and suddenly your vocal cords close, causing the hiccup sound. Normally it goes away. It can happen from eating too much food. Maybe you swallow too much air. Changes in your stomach's temperature. Drinking a hot liquid, then a cold liquid can cause it. What are your all's favorite hiccup remedies?
You know, my go-to remedy is taking a paper bag or any kind of bag and blowing in and out.
There you go.
Fantastic.
I like the upside down.
How do you even do that?
I need your help. I could lie on the.
That's actually my favorite, and it does work. You put your feet up on the wall, you drink a glass of water upside down, although holding your breath is pretty good too.
I love holding, and some people use lemons. And here's the reality. Whatever your resolution for hiccups, if it works for you, stick with it. And in most cases, hiccups, they really aren't anything to worry about. But every now and then, particularly when they will not go away on their own, and they're constant over days and weeks, they can present in a worrisome fashion. And you may be referred to one of these three specialists. So hiccups, everyone pay attention. I want you to applause, or by applause, how many of you think the specialist you should see potentially is A, a cardiologist, like Dr. John Kennedy? Clap if you think it's a cardiologist. Is there a chance for hiccups you would see B, a dermatologist, like Dr. Sandra Lee? It's not you, it's the hiccups.
I would have voted for you.
Yeah. Or C, ophthalmologist Dr. Brian Boxer Wachler. So I would say the winner is a cardiologist. Explain to us why in the world you would see a cardiologist possibly for prolonged hiccups.
Yes, hiccups, if it's exertional or effort-related, can be from a blocked artery. And the way that this all works, and the reason it is, something that you should worry about and maybe see a cardiologist for, is that the nerve that supplies the swallowing tube, or our esophagus, is called the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve starts up in our swallowing tube and then goes down to our heart. So when we get exertional or effort-related hiccups, it can be an atypical presentation of angina or blocked arteries. And if you're climbing a flight of stairs and you get hiccups, see a cardiologist. Don't stand on your head and drink a glass of water.
Good takeaway. All right, you ready for the second one? Blisters. Very common, right? Normally a fluid-filled blister is just going to go away on its own. And we always recommend don't unroof it. Don't necessarily do anything that could cause it to become super infected. But in the case of this, which is a blister on the tip of your nose, who do you think you might want to go see for that? A, would you see a cardiologist? B, a dermatologist? You feel better now? So you now have some friends. Or C, your ophthalmologist. Interestingly, this may be a reason to see C, your ophthalmologist. And explain why.
Well, this sign, we saw the rash on the tip of the nose, is actually a classic sign for very early shingles. The name of this sign is called Hutchinson's sign. What happens is that when we all have had chicken pox as kids, we think, well, the disease is gone, it was a childhood disease, that's it, it's over, we'll never see any sign of that again. But a lot of people don't realize that the chickenpox virus still is laying dormant in the back of our nerve root by the spinal cord. So when we get older and the immune system starts to decrease, the virus comes out, it's like a jailbreak, and comes down the nerve root. And shingles can spread to the eye and to the forehead, and that can cause some really serious problems. And that's why we want to perhaps see the ophthalmologist, is because if that spreads and hits the eye, then we've got to start treating people really aggressively with antivirals. I'll probably call up my dermatologist friend, get her or him involved, because they're going to be on not only antiviral medication, but also on oral steroids to try to nip this in the bud.
And that is a pronounced case of it.
The take-home message is try to keep your health up, your immune system up as you get older, because that helps keep that chickenpox virus, back in maximum security lockdown so it doesn't come out and cause all this damage.
Good stuff. Well, let's move on. We have one more by process of elimination. Will be interesting to see if you all can get this. So your last symptom, painful, tingly butt. Now, oftentimes you're going to get painful, tingly sensation, kind of runs down the back of your buttocks into your leg. Now, that's sciatica. But we're talking about a little bit of a different painful, tingly sensation, more in the middle of your buttocks area. And by applause, how many of you think that the specialist you maybe should see is A, a cardiologist? I think we may have had one. B, a dermatologist. Or C, an ophthalmologist. Please don't.
Not.
Yeah, we got two people who are going to see you for tingling butt. It is B, dermatologist. And Dr. Lee, explain to us why.
Well, so actually, tingling in the buttock area is actually a common way for us as dermatologists to see this kind of condition, genital herpes. And the reason is because genital herpes is actually more common or more prevalent in the population than you would think. And I get the nicest props here. I get to draw a circle around the touch, so you can see this is the distribution of this nerve, S2 and S3. It wraps around there to the front, okay? So we can diagnose this because usually oftentimes people will get a blister in the area, and what we do is we de-roof it, we kind of scrape the base, and we look at it under the microscope. We do what's called a Zank smear, and we look for multinucleated giant cells, and that will show us whether you have genital herpes or not. And you can also do a serologic test. You can do a blood test. And that will let you know whether you've ever been exposed to this virus. And many of us would be surprised to know that we actually have been exposed to this virus, but we've maybe never showed signs of it.
And it's interesting because there are some similarities between these two.
Yes.
These viruses, they live in your nerve root,
yeah.
And then when they're reactivated, they travel out to wherever that nerve root innervates the part of the body. And that's
it's true
why
that herpes is forever. It really is when you have it. But it shouldn't scare you because it's actually very common, and a lot of us live our lives and we never know that we have it. So it never really affects you.
You know what? This is a great example of your symptoms may not be as clear to you as you may think. Mm-hmm. And the beauty is, if you go see your primary care physician and they see these problems, they will refer you to the appropriate specialist. But this is one to grow on. I learned something today. Did you all? Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for joining us.